everyone, it's Jess from Pinecone Papers, and I wanted to show you how I'm setting up for August in my bullet journal. So to start us off, I am doing my August cover. I decided to go with a fair theme since we go every single year, and the fair's always been a really big part of my childhood and my children's childhood, and so I always associate August with the fair. It was really kind of a toss-up between drawing some farm animals or drawing some sort of attraction at the carnival, because I personally don't like carnival rides, and my favorite thing to do at the fair is to go see the animals. But I'm kind of hoping that I can do another animal theme later down the line, so I thought I would just go with a Ferris wheel because I just think it's so classic fair, and I really wanted to use a fun font, and I just couldn't really incorporate some animals with the font that I wanted. It just wasn't quite looking right. So I went online and I searched for country fair fonts, and I found this one called Queen Rosie. That's right. It was called Queen Rosie. And I've never drawn it before, but I definitely want to do this one again. It was really a lot of fun, and I always encourage you to find fun fonts online and then try to draw them in your bullet journal because it just really mixes stuff up. So I decided to carry this on in a couple of pages in my August spread, but not very many because I like to just stick with my simple headers. It helps me to lay out my bullet journal quicker, and I just like the flow of how my pages go when I use the same header throughout. I'll probably get a little more creative as I go, but I like to just kind of keep it simple, and I think that that just makes it easier for me. So on this next page, I usually keep the back of the cover blank, and I go to the next page, which is where I list out my goals. I use the SMART goals method, which basically helps me to make sure that my goals are going to work for me. And I'll do another video or a blog post on SMART goals another time, but basically I just try to take 2 goals for the month and see those through. I've found that picking any more than 2 is pretty tough, and I have a lot of little goals and little tasks throughout the month, so I try not to overwhelm myself. So I just keep to 2 goals that are going to be my primary focus for the month. So I'm carrying over that Queen Rosie font over into this page. I usually like to make a pretty big spread just because it's fun, and I like to make sure that my goals feel fun when I start them out. So I just did the word SMART up here, and then I did goals in my typical brush lettering handwriting, because then it just kind of ties into the rest of the pages as well. I'll fill in the goals later, but I keep enough room so that I can write out exactly how I'm going to achieve those goals and how I'm going to measure them. I also ended up putting like a cute little flag divider there that is kind of keeping with the fair theme. So these next 2 pages are something that I look at quite a bit, the first one being the timeline. I've been using a simple timeline for several months, and I just love it because it's easy to draw, and honestly, I don't have a ton of events and appointments and craziness to put on this timeline. That's why I don't do a big calendar. I actually use my Google Calendar for all of my appointments and things, so for the timeline, I generally stick to birthdays, big sections of time like when school is ending, when holidays are starting, vacations, and things like that. For the running task list, I love having an entire page just dedicated to tasks that I want to complete each month. I set this up with the modified Alistair method for 2 reasons. First, I like to be able to come back to this page throughout the month and add things as they come up, so it's really nice to not have to worry about what category it's going into, because I can just mark it, I can just categorize it on the side. And the second reason is because at the end of the month I like to see a breakdown of where I've spent my time So you've probably seen that pretty much everything in my bullet journal is evaluated at the end of the month. And I do that so I can see where I make improvements and just to see trends of things that are happening. So in July, I realized that I only had 2 or 3 tasks listed under the personal section, and I had a ton of tasks listed under family and home. So this month, I am going to ask my family to pitch in on some of the house and family type tasks so that I can make room for more things that I need to get done personally. I usually have a few tasks from last month that I'll move over right off the bat. I also like to do a little doodling on this page, so I'm just drawing out a few little poles to put up some more fair type flags. So this is where I begin my trackers. I have 3 full spreads for a total of 6 pages, and it's all for tracking. I'll just draw out this first spread and the flare symptom tracker to speed things along. If you haven't seen my other videos where I talk more about tracking, you can find a full tutorial about the flare symptom tracker in the description below. These trackers are really the heart of my month, and I try to fill them out every single night. Sometimes I don't do it every night, and that's okay too, but for the most part, I try really hard to do it. The first 2 here are self-care trackers that I evaluate at the end of the month to see specific patterns that may correspond with treatments and symptoms. I do my water and fruits and vegetables because I need to make sure that I'm drinking a certain amount of water every day, and I'm trying to eat more fruits and vegetables. So that's generally one of my SMART goals, and it's really nice to have this tracker here to kind of keep track of that. And the next one is about sleep and energy, and I track how much I sleep every night, how many hours, and I also track how many minutes, I guess it's in minutes, how much I nap every day. And I pretty much need a nap every single day. So I track that, and then I also track my energy. I have just like a little 5 heart system, kind of like a 5-star system there, where I can just mark how much energy I had that day. And it's really nice because I can go back and see that sometimes how much sleep I got every night really does matter, and sometimes it has nothing to do with sleeping at night, and it's just, I'm just having a lot of fatigue because of my symptoms. So my next 2 trackers look a lot like the water and sleep and energy trackers, so I didn't draw them out, but I'll add those back in later. My next tracker is the flare symptom tracker, and as you can see, I have an older bullet journal sitting up top so that I can kind of reference it as I'm drawing it out here. Most of the time I kind of look back over the next month and I come back and draw everything in, but I thought that'd be a little distracting for this video. So it's not too tough to draw out, and I actually have a tutorial video on how to make the flare symptom tracker. But I also have a printable download for my newsletter subscribers, so you can just grab that off of the free library if you want to subscribe to the newsletter, and then you can paste it into your bullet journal or just print it out for your planner. If you've never seen my flare symptom tracker, it is probably the most important spread that I have in my bullet journal, and it covers everything from pain and other symptoms to self-care habits and medication tracking. It's just kind of a one-stop place for everything that has to do with all of my symptoms in the month. It's really great for seeing trends, and I share it with my doctor often because we can see what's happening with medication and different treatment changes. These next 2 pages are my favorite because I'm able to write something positive each day and also record any celebrations that I have in the month. So this first one is just a gratitude log. I write just 1 line. I don't necessarily write one every single day, but I like to kind of keep it to 1 line if I can. And for celebrations, sometimes I write like a couple of sentences, sometimes I write really big, sometimes I put something more kind of formatted in there. It's just kind of a free-for-all, which is really nice because some celebrations just need to be shouted on the page. This next page is blank because I'm saving it for either a quote or a mind map or something that I like to do in the middle of the month. I don't like to have all of my pages, kind of planned out. Sometimes I like to add things in the middle. I definitely add things at the end. And then the second page is called Love Story. It is where I put things that have to do with my husband and I. So any memories or any date plans or anything that we might be talking about that I want to remember. The next section is where I like to put all of my weeklies. I keep them all together rather than spaced throughout the month like many people have them. I also am not using daily layouts right now, so I like to have all of my calendar and task-based pages, basically my weeklies, all together in one space like this. My weekly layout is pretty simple with equal spacing for each day and then a section for tasks, which I pull from the running task list. There's a section for notes, a section for changes, and a section for meal planning. So if I'm not really interested in drawing out every week right there, I just count out how many pages I need for each week and then I draw them out on Sunday night. So as I said before, I like to have lots of pages for other things. I often will just grab a page and do some reflective journaling. I do a lot of sporadic journaling, so I like to have a lot of empty pages kind of in between my weeklies and the end of the month. So I generally won't draw out my end of the month spread until I get to the end of the month. So because of that, I'm going to go back in time and show you my memories and reflections page from July. So July's theme was a camping theme. So for my memories page, I drew these little marshmallows on sticks. And so I'll go in and I'll put in different memories on those marshmallows. And then for the reflections, I generally have 3 sections. The first one is what went well, the second one is what could have gone better, and the last one is what have I learned. And I like those sections because it helps me to really wrap up how I'm feeling about the month and just kind of be more reflective. I also generally have a tracker summary spread, which I haven't shown here because I haven't finished that one for July. But maybe I will go through a flip through here in the next month and you can see a completed month. So here's a quick flip through of the pages that I created, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you have any questions about how I set things up, or if you just want to share how you set up August. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.